Hello, I'm MariCore, a professional illustrator and an indie dev, and I was given the honor of helping you today with designing a character for your game. I'll do my best to break down all the necessary basic knowledge you need to make your own character, while giving you a few leads from my personal experiences and some tips here and there to consider while designing. Hopefully, then animate your character. So, without further ado, let's start with the first step. Information and references. I assume that many game devs are either beginner artists or come from a programming background. So, an important step that is often missed is the importance of gathering information and visual reference to help you with designing your character. First off, you need to gather the written material about the world of your game, or at least have a set of bullet points of your game story, and its ending if it's a story-based game, that is. We'll put it in the form of a list. I wish for all of you to work on your own examples too, as I work on my own. So, the important questions are what, where, when, who, and why. So let's say what. My game is a horror 2D side-view platformer that is about solving puzzles and defeating monsters. Where? My game takes place in a ruined world, being taken over by eldritch beings. When? My game takes place in the modern day, so tall buildings and everything like that. Who? My character is going to be an adorable little boy who has eldritch powers and is trying to find his mother. Why? Well, because 1. Kids seem to have a special place in people's hearts, so an easily lovable character. 2. It will make his model's hitbox smaller, so it's easier to dodge hits. 3. It'll be much more effective in making people sad when I kill him off in the end. That's how the story goes, really. So the why is usually there to see if the who fits with the story you have or not. I'd say once you ask the what, where, and when is when you need to halt and start with the first step of designing your character. And the first step, 1, gathering references. Usually, when someone has an idea for a game, they have a rough idea of what they want it to look like. So look at your idea and write down the main elements of your world in a list. Mine are eldritch beings, apocalypse, dystopia. Based on these, we can search for the character designs on Google, Pinterest, or really any social media of your choice. Though I personally suggest Pinterest or Google Images. Once you have references, you put them on the side for you to design your character and take the elements you like. I picked these as my references. And with them, I designed this character. Now I know what you're thinking. Miss Mari, that looks nothing like the references you picked. To that I say I know. While I was designing the character, I realized I don't want him to look like a traditional apocalyptic character. Because putting him in clothes similar to the references I picked made him look competent. And that is not what I want for this character. After all, who's really prepared for the apocalypse when it suddenly happens out of nowhere? I want my little boy to look vulnerable and weak, so I thought about putting him in normal clothes, like a hoodie or something. But I didn't like that either. I wanted my main character to be extra vulnerable, and that is achievable by playing more on our next point, shape design. Shape and silhouette design. This is the most critical point in character design, in my humble opinion. So what is shape design or shape language? It is the silhouette of a character, and I hear you asking, what is a silhouette?
Allow me. It is the dark shape and outline of someone or something visible in restricted light against a brighter background.
Thank you, Google. If I line up a bunch of silhouettes, I'm sure you can see how distinct every character's shape is. And that's exactly what we're going for. So our goal is to design a character with a distinct silhouette. But first, we need to know the basic shapes for character design. They are the good old circle. The character that takes the shape of a circle gives the impression of being friendly, cute, fun, and it's perfect shape for something adorable and family-friendly. Think of Kirby or Princess Peach. Even Mario is extremely round in shape. The rectangle. Characters that take the shape of a rectangle are usually strong and sturdy. A lot of buff characters have this shape. like Optimus Prime, Wreck-It Ralph, Batman, Superman, or anyone from the Marvel universe, really. And I know that these are movie examples, but they work too. And last simple shape is the triangle. Usually used upside down, characters that take this shape give off a sense of danger and sharpness. You see many villains and monsters take the silhouette of a triangle, or have many triangular edges in their design to make them feel more dangerous, like Bowser, Pyramid Head, or Sephiroth, for example. While their shapes aren't purely triangle, excluding Pyramid Head, the smaller angles in their designs are adding the sharpness necessary for their silhouettes to be distinct and communicate sense of danger. Now that my character is designed, I believe you can tell what kind of shape this boy has. Let's turn off the details and you can see that in the first iteration, his general shape is a slight triangle and a circle shape for the head. See how everything is super smooth and soft? Overall, he doesn't look threatening at all. Then in the second iteration, I added more triangles in his circular shaped head to eliminate the smoothness that gave him a cute look. And just like Bowser's design. Now the last part is what will make this boy specifically distinct, as he is the only one who will have this shadow-like silhouette. However, it will only exist when he attacks, so it's not always going to be around. But it's good to plan out all your character's shapes if they're going to have multiple forms in your game. The earlier you put it in mind, the better. Also, one last thing before we move on to the next stage. I need to bring up body shapes. While simple shapes work the best for cartoon characters, if you're going for something more human-like, like I did, and you're not depending on the shapes of the character's clothing, I did this in this design because I wanted the triangle shape, you'd show the subtle differences in characters using body types, like for example, Vi and Jinx. Both are human, but you can see both of them have two different silhouettes, and half of it is thanks to the different body types. And the other half is their giant weapons and different hairstyles, but I think you get my point. Now, after you have a good silhouette for your character, let's pick out the colors. And number 3, colors. Colors are what brings everything together. If you have a good shape but bad colors, your character will be just a sore to look at. Of course, you'll hear things about color theory, and let me tell you, if I start explaining what this is and the types of color combinations, this will turn into an art lesson instead. And off we go to a cliff somewhere where we can all end our miserable existence. If you want the full color theory experience, you can search these titles on YouTube as they cover the whole party and go in depth about the dynamics of all the colors. And don't ask me about explaining the colors again, please. Now that we have that out of the way, there are 2 things you need to keep in mind when you pick the colors of your characters: brightness and saturation, and your character's prominent color. Let's explain the first point. A color saturation is how close the color is to gray or to being a full-on neon color. A color's brightness is how close it is to black or white. With that said, the color on your character should never have the same saturation and brightness. Full stop. Just don't ever do that, please. If you must have a very saturated color, make sure it's only one color in your whole design, specifically where you want your player's eyes to focus, like glowing eyes or very bright hair maybe. Unless your whole game has relatively saturated colors, then by all means, go for it. Oh, but I hear you say, "But Miss Mari, how do I know what colors to pick?" Well, let me tell you the way I do it. To put things simply, when I think of colors, I separate them into 2 categories. Warm colors, those are red, yellow, orange, and cold colors, those are green, blue, and purple. And usually you need at least one color from one set, which is usually the main color, and a couple or even more, if you feel like it, from the other category. Whether these categories are warm or cold, that's up to you. Warm colors are used to attract the eye of the player, For example, someone with reds and yellows is going to be way more eye-catching than a character with blues and greens. That, of course, doesn't mean that the characters with colder color palettes are bad. Characters are given cooler colors, for example, if they are sea or nature themed, or you want the character to feel more relaxed on the eye, and if they have a docile, calm, and naturalistic personality. Warm colors are used for characters that are more active, spunky, and even dangerous. They don't even need to be villains to have the warmer palette. You'll find villains and antagonists fall under the umbrella of using mostly warm colors, while the heroes lean more into a cooler palette. I did something similar in my design. If you pick the colors I have, they're mostly different shades of blue, minus the skin color since it's in an orange shade. Since I wanted the colors to reflect not only the friendliness and sweetness of the character, but also his mild and innocent personality. I believe it fitted him best. Now, as you can see, there is also the color magenta in his ulterior forms, which are the forms he'll take when the monster within him is helping him, is talking to him, or when the boy is using attacks. And you see the color magenta is a warm color that falls into the red variety, and red is the opposite of green and blue in the color wheel. A very easy but effective way to make something feel evil in contrast to your main character is to give them the opposite color palette. And congratulations, you've designed your main character for your platformer! That was easy, wasn't it? But we're not done yet. One final stage of preparing your character after the concept stage is 4. Preparing your character's animations. By making a character sheet for your movements. This is specifically for artists, and it's where you have a big drawing filled with drawings of how your characters will look like moving. A simple and quick drawing of how your character moves will most likely include the following: an idle pose, a walk or run picture, crouch, attack, dodge, extra movement and specific combo moves, like maybe an ultimate, I'm not sure. Whatever your heart desires, really. I created mine with only his most basic movements, and as you can see, the art is a lot messier than usual, but you can always finalize it later. And keep in mind, this is only a reference sheet for your animators to make it easier for them to make the animation for you. So the point of this kind of sheet is to understand the movement of your character concerning the design you created and the written personality you have as reference. My boy wears a hospital gown for an outfit, so it can somewhat operate as the bottom part of a skirt or a dress in its movement. And it can be utilized to give him more interesting silhouettes and shapes when he moves. What's wrong? Why do you look so down?
But I'm not good at drawing. I can't draw a moveset like this. How can I get the moves I have in mind for my character?
You can always contact an artist and ask them to help you with your character, for a price you pay, of course.
But I don't have money to give to an artist.
That's fine. You could always look at others' character sheets online as reference. Don't just take them and use them without the artist's knowledge. Make sure you credit them if you do so too, please. Or even use your favorite game character's animation as reference for your animator. Or, if you're a one-man band game developer, then now you know that all you need is just references. Look up references and try to copy them till you get better at it, though the progress of getting better will probably be across a few game releases if we're being real here. And with that, we reach the end of our little course. To that, I'd like to add 5 tips and points from my personal experiences. These are the accommodation of all the things I learned throughout the years that I believe can help you in your journey, be it a solo game dev or working in a team. Compare and contrast characters with each other. Line up your main character designs with the other monster and character designs. This helps to see if all their silhouettes and color palettes are distinct, and if not, it will make it easier for you to edit their designs accordingly. Have details in your character design based on the type of animation you'll use. There are a lot of ways to animate a character, so try to have the detail on your character according to the type you're using. For example, if your character is going to be hand animated, drawn frame by frame that is, try to not add a lot of unnecessary details, as it can make it much harder for the animator. Excessive details like maybe hanging chain or pocket watch, for example, or excessive jewelry, like a 1,000 bracelet or earrings your character wears, or a very detailed hairstyle that doesn't really need to be that detailed. Albeit there are characters who are detailed and well animated, so make sure you discuss it with your animator if you have one working with you. Now let's say if you're using puppet animation, you can get away with some meticulously detailed things here and there. Of course, the ultimate form of doing almost as many details as you want without having to worry about it being difficult to animate, besides simulation, would be making it into a 3D model. And that would require specific character sheets made specifically for your character, so it can be modeled. So make sure you look these up first. You'll find these sheets include the front, back, and side view of the character. You don't have to necessarily draw the back. The front and side view are the most important. And you also need to make sure that everything lines up with measurements. Hence why you find a lot of these sheets drawn with a lot of lines on them to make sure that everything is aligned as perfectly as possible. Make sure to regularly update your animator. This is just good communication, as it will help you bridge what you want with what your animators will do, and they can voice their opinion on what can increase animating time and what can make it go faster. It avoids bad communication and helps create a much needed group work environment. If you're a one-man band though, then this isn't an issue for you. Don't be afraid to come back and tweak your designs. You see, concept art is the visualization stage, and sometimes while you're developing your ideas, you realize that there is something you forgot to add in your designs, or something that needs to be changed midway through development. While it's not good to change things throughout the game development constantly, if your game requires that you go back once or twice to change things about your designs or moves set, then by all means, don't be afraid to go back and fix it. Ask for feedback. Having other friends or colleagues who can look at your design and tell you what they think about it. It can help you see things through a set of fresh eyes. Though make sure you ask people who will honestly tell you what they think instead of just giving you compliments. Compliments are great motivators, but that's not what you need right now. What you need is general feedback on your design. Research and keep learning. If you ever get stuck, don't wait around for someone to tell you. Go look up videos on YouTube. Go on forums for game dev or Reddit or Discord groups. Speak with other developers and share your things. And there is nothing better than sharing art of your game character as a mid-tier icebreaker. Ask questions and make the best of your time learning from others who are around you. You'll learn. And with knowledge comes experience. And who knows, maybe someone will drop a tip that will legit save your life from hours of lost time one day. And the last and most important point I want to share, it will feel like a lot, but don't give up. Now, many of you don't know this, but I released a game called Karu on Steam. For those who played it, it's like a short, medium-sized game with 3 hours of gameplay. It took 3 years to develop. The times I felt like I was lost, confused, tired, and just wanting to give up were too many for me to count. If you are having a smooth development with no mistakes and all, then you're probably already dead and those angels are just showing you an image of what you want to see until the judgment day comes for us all. If I would describe game development in a line, it would be no pain, no gain. You'll feel the pain. All of the pain, from not knowing what direction to go at first, from bug fixing to losing files to redoing things, and that is all okay. It is part of the process. Do not grieve over lost time or the mistakes you did. But what you must never forget is that it's a craft of labor and love, even if it doesn't feel like it in many ways. But trust me, it will be all worth it in the end. And with that, marks the end of this semi-crash course of designing a character for your platformer game. And now you have the characters ready to be animated, and thank you for coming to this lesson. And good luck on the animation, and have a good day.